Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Hills, Pruden Sister Leaders Community, and I am so excited. I know you don't believe me when I keep saying I have an awesome guest, but I do. Yes, and so I am so excited to bring on Brianca Hurley. And so she is a sister leader in my network, and she is going to tell you all about herself. Go ahead, Brianca.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here to join you. I really appreciate what you're doing. I think it's not only important, but it's also inspiring. To give a little background, my name is Brianca Hurley. I am from New Jersey. I currently reside in Virginia. I am a wife, a mother of 3 toddlers, and a strong businesswoman. I am a proud sister of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, as well as a member of TLOD, which is a community service organization, and we do a lot of work in the community. Currently, I stand as a VP for the Juneteenth Foundation, which we founded back in 2019-ish, 2018. We had conversations, but really pushed to get it started in 2019. So we are the National Juneteenth Foundation, as well as I spearhead operations for a law firm in LA. And I do a lot of work outside of that, but I'm just really happy to be here and kind of jump into Women's History Month and all of the good things.
Awesome. So in my Kevin Hart voice, I'm going to go back because I believe you said you're the mother of 3 toddlers.
Yes, well, I guess I shouldn't say all of them are toddlers. So I have a 7-year-old, a newly 7-year-old. I have an almost 5-year-old, and I have a almost 3-year-old. He'll be 3 next week. So they keep.
Well, yeah. I think the premise is still the same. When you said it, it hit me. It's like, oh, she has her hands full. So premise is still the same. You have your hands full because they're all moving little people.
Yes, and in our household, we have a very busy household. My husband's also an attorney. He's general counsel for FanDuel. And so our schedules are just so hectic, but they keep us on our toes. They keep us organized, and they keep us true to our word. They do not let us forget if we've promised anything. So it's been an honor to be able to be a mother to these 3 beautiful children, and also to build a village in my community.
Awesome. So let's talk about the Juneteenth Foundation, because coming up in a couple of months, we'll be celebrating Juneteenth. And a lot of people aren't really aware of the history behind the Juneteenth. Can you share a little bit for those who've heard of it, but don't quite know exactly what it is, maybe think they have an idea of what Juneteenth is?
Of course. So Juneteenth is a sacred day. Similar to how we celebrate independence on the 4th of July, Juneteenth is our Independence Day, where we celebrate freedom and celebration. It's a remembrance of all the things that have happened in African-American culture, but also it's celebrations focusing on positivity. And so that's really what the Juneteenth Foundation was built on. We started a walk back in our community a few years ago, which was the Freedom Walk. And it started in our close-knit community, where we had tons of people come out and just walk in understanding that we're celebrating freedom, and that a lot of people don't even know that Juneteenth should be celebrated, right? And so it started as a walk, and then as a family and as colleagues, we sat down and we said, it needs to go beyond this. When the George Floyd situation happened, which was devastating in all of our communities, we sat down and we wanted to know how we can make an impact. And so we really finalized details, and we created the Juneteenth Foundation, which is nationally recognized. We work with Biden's team to make it a holiday that some companies choose to give off. I've seen in the last few years a lot more companies putting it on their manuals and adding it in. And so since then, we've been able to put on several events over the last few years, giving back scholarships to different students, specifically targeting HBCU students. We're able to go to our local colleges as well as others to give back to HBCU students. We were able to fly out our students 2 years ago in this past year to come and be a part of our honors event, where we had tons of celebrities and community leaders, congresswomen come and sit and talk and celebrate with us. We had some really cool celebrities come and join and perform. Everyone from Carrie Hilson, we had Maxwell speak, we had T.I., who's been a part and has been willing to come and celebrate with us for 2 years now. We're really looking forward to this year. And a big part of the foundation is really having a career fair. So we partner with some of the biggest companies that you can think of that are willing to give their time and space to create a table that I don't think that I had access to growing up. And a lot of my colleagues did not as well. So we're able to not only do resume review, but a lot of the students that come to our career fair every year leave with internships, leave with job offers, and also leave with mentors. So the Juneteenth Foundation is not just about celebration, but it's also about creating opportunities and spaces in our community, as well as uplifting others.
I love that. And thank you for that, because I think I learned a little something too. And I know as the former president of our local branch of the NAACP, I know a lot about Juneteenth, but I'm a lifetime learner, so I'm always open to learning more. So this month is Women's History Month. And so I definitely love highlighting women in my network during this particular month, but all year. Everyone, if you know me and you follow me, you know I'm all about girl power. Can you share with the community 2 women who have inspired and motivated you in your life, and explain why for each one?
Absolutely. So of course I have to start with my mother. My mother raised myself and my 2 brothers, who are also doing very well for themselves. But she always instilled in me giving back. My mother is Tanya Hart. She is a community leader as well, a pastor, and being raised in the church, she let me know what it means to have morals, what it means to be positive and be a positive influence. And I'm very grateful for that. She also instilled in me what it means to be a working woman and a working mother and wife. For a while, when I had my first child, who is my daughter, Isabel, I was very stressed out about how I would balance all of this. At that time, my husband was in law school. He was a 1L, 2L, and I didn't know how I'd be able to handle all of the things. But she kept me she kept me guarded, but she also really made sure that I felt that I had the village that I needed. And seeing how she was with myself and my brothers, I knew that I'd be able to accomplish whatever I put my mind to. As cliche as that sounds, 10 years ago, I never thought that I'd be in this position that I am now. And I'm looking forward to whatever it means to grow from here on. But I will say my mother, one story I want to give is my mother growing through New Jersey. There's a ton of tolls, right? You're always going through a toll. If you're going to New York, there's a toll. My mother, something so simple really impacted me now as an adult. Whenever we get to a toll, she'd give cash to pay for like 20 cars behind us. And for me, I was just like, why would you do that? You don't know if they're going to take the money. You don't know what there's like a trust that you're instilling in this person to ensure they're doing the right thing also. And my mother always told me giving back and sowing a seed to other people is just the right thing to do. And so that little thing that she would do so often really changed my life. And to this day, I haven't really shared that specific story with her, but I've shared it with friends. And I'm just like, this is something that has let me know how important community service is and how important giving back is. So I'm very grateful for my mother. I also want to include my mother-in-law. My husband's mother is a mother of 8 boys, 2 sets of twins. And she's from Ghana. She's was a missionary at one point and has worked several jobs to send back money back home. And she supported all of her children along with the support and helpmate of her husband. And so I'm always grateful for her because she's also shown me it's just another amazing, beautiful example of how you can do all the things. And when I had my first child, again, I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. But having that backup reinforcement really showed me that you can, and it's going to be hard. There's going to be hard moments, but it's going to be beautiful moments. You may cry some days, you may be laughing all the other days, but it's going to be worth it. And so I want to add in one little piece, although we're talking about inspirations of women, my daughter inspires me incredibly. My daughter is 7 years old. My daughter Isabel, she is very artsy. She takes after my father, who passed several years ago. And she just loves to be nurturing and loving and do everything that she can. And I always try to remind her not to burn herself out, but to stay committed to the things that she wants to do. And so with my mother, my mother-in-law, my beautiful daughter, I'm really impacted by the girl power, and I hope to instill that into my daughter as well.
I love that, and I am all for the girl power. And I would not be where I am today without some supportive women in my life as well. And because for those of you who have followed me, you know that I started out my life as a teenage bride. Those words alone should tell you something.
Absolutely.
I was a housewife, I was a wife, I was a mother, and I had three beautiful children back to back when very early, very young. And it wasn't until later in life when I decided that I wanted to restore and refresh my college dreams that I decided to go and get bachelor's, master's, PhD, and all of that stuff. And at that time, all of my children were under the age of 5. They were
Yep.
3, 2, and 1 when I decided I wanted to go back to school. And so it was a village of women. It was my mother-in-law, my mother, that kept my kids. My children know nothing about a babysitter, no such thing in my life, because I had family members who supported my goals and allowed me to put my life education on track to go on and pursue. So I'm all for girl power. So let's talk about since we have so many roles as women, mother, community leader, some people are entrepreneurs, some people are in corporate America. I
Yep.
actually hold all of those roles. Is it difficult? Do you feel it is more difficult for a woman to be career oriented because of our various roles? And if so, why? Or if not, why not?
This is kind of like a two-piece thing, right? I think for me, at first I thought it was impossible. And at first I really steered away from the greatness I think was instilled in me. And I let go of a lot of potential business opportunities and career growing opportunities because I was like, if I'm not home, who's gonna be watching my kid? And I think my situation was a little different because I had to relocate. Me and my spouse had to relocate when he was in school, and then so we didn't have as much family support. My sister-in-law helped me a ton, and so I think that it is very difficult. I think as a woman, you are expected to be so many things and to do it so gracefully. I think where we go wrong as a community is understanding what gracefully looks like. And I think gracefully looks like being vulnerable. It's experiencing all of the ups and downs of parenthood, being a woman, being a human. And I also think it also includes enjoying and being willing to celebrate your success. I think what makes it difficult as a woman is that there's this narrative that we have to be able to do all the things at all the time. And that's just not even now that I've understand that I've understood what that means. It's not possible to do all the things all the time. Burnout is real. Workplace burnout is real. Family burnout is real. And so it's really leading into a village. So to answer your question, yes, it's very difficult as a woman. And I think we would be naive not to tell other women and other women who are trying to grow in their careers that it is difficult. But I would like to say that it is doable. And I think you and I are both a really good example of that, and so many other women that you're showcasing for Women's History Month. Is it difficult? Yes. Is it doable? Absolutely. And do you need to lean in and trust and have a village? 1000%. I, at some point, did not have the privilege of not having a sitter. I had to trust and utilize my nanny and my sitters. I'm grateful because the people that I've trusted have been with me since my oldest has been born, and with the supervision of, now we have a lot of tech, we have the cameras in our house and all that. But I will say with that is utilizing that girl power. You have a friend who has a daughter who is really good with children. That's another business opportunity. You're also encouraging them to get certification, CPR certified, and all of the other things. So I think I've learned over the past 10 years that it is so difficult, but it's so rewarding if you just stick to it and sit with those difficult moments. When you sit after like a long work week and you're like, oh my God, I got to do this again next week. It's okay. It'll be fine, because guess what? You might have another moment the next week, or then that night, or the next morning, and life goes on. I think what I also share with my family and friends is that all of those feelings are temporary. I tell my husband all the time, when I was in high school, I always thought everything was the end of the world. I'm like, I don't think I'm ever going to get through this. This is high school, because that's where we see ourselves in that moment in life, but life continues. So know that, a week from now, a few months from now, a month from now, a year from now, that moment will have passed. And if not, you will make a plan to change it. Is it difficult? Yes. Is it doable? Absolutely.
I love that. And I think you kind of stepped on my toes a little bit, Brianca, when you were talking, because I was thinking about some of the things that you said when you were like, women feeling like they have to go through everything gracefully. I used to be a person who, if you ever asked me how I was feeling, I was always okay.
Of course.
Even when I was not okay.
Yep.
And even when the people who were asking me were genuinely interested in how I was feeling and probably could help me and assist me and aid me had I been honest with them. But I would always say, okay. It wasn't until I talked to another wise older woman who said that you're creating this stress yourself because you're not being honest with people. People are asking because they're genuinely trying to see where they can help you. And this is when my children were, and I had my children back to back. So when they were young, when my children were young, people were saying, can I help you do anything? Can you? And I'm like, oh, I'm okay. And then I go home and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, crying in the corner, wiping the tears and making a bottle.
Yes, so I learned to be honest with the people who were inquiring. I mean, you don't have to like vomit everything that's going on in your head, but be honest. If you're not okay, just say, I'm not okay, but I'll be okay. And share what it is that you want to share. But so I had to stop that lie, because that was a common lie. I'm okay. If no one is always okay
At all. And that's an amazing point, because I'm like, I'm hoping that there's so much change now. It's 2023 where we're able to talk more. I think several years ago when I had my daughter, I was like, I didn't want anyone to touch her. Don't look at her too long. Don't even come near us, But as I realized, I was like literally, feeling, I was self-sabotaging. I was putting myself in a corner when there's a wall in between me and other people who wanted to help and wanted to be there. And if you really think and picture that, you're in a corner holding your child, you're in a corner holding your work laptop by yourself. There's a wall in between, and there's a group of people outside of that wall that are more than willing to help you if you let them in. There's only so much people can do. And so I've learned now that, of course, there are things we want to do on our own. There's things that we're stuck in our habits, women, men, people in general. But I think it's important to note that if you are willing to accept the help, that you are creating space to give yourself room to breathe and to really exercise what it means to be like, to have a balanced, healthy lifestyle. So that's something that I've really loved. And I love that you shared your experience, because it sounds very similar.
Yes. I am. older and wiser, and I do better, as my grandmother would say, when you know better, you do better. And that wasn't always the case in every topic in my life, but for that, it was that, that I was creating my own stress. So let's talk about, can women in business, there are certain competencies and traits that are needed to be successful, whether you're working for yourself or whether you're working for someone else. And then there are certain traits that are, in a general way, associated with being a woman, like being compassionate and empathetic. And then when you think about successful people in business, they're strong and decisive. And so, is it possible for a woman to embody all of those things and be not balanced, but juggle all of those different competencies successfully? Because I don't think there's a such thing as balance. I think we prioritize things in our life, but we don't balance anything in our lives.
We try so hard, but there's no, life is not balanced. But to your question, I think something that I've learned is it possible? I think all this stems from creating boundaries. When I started my career several years ago, I was starting as an executive assistant, operations manager type roles. And so I was always felt that I had to always give reasons for a lot of things. If I was out sick for a day, I had to explain what the sickness was and all the details, the cough that I had. If I was unable to answer emails on vacation, I'm like, I'm sorry. It was always, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I'll get to this, to that, to that. And I think that's a part of the culture that was created. I will say over the past few years, I've seen a shift. I think that there's more room to have that somewhat balanced life. I think for me personally, it really has been asserting myself, because I deserve to be in any room that anyone else is in. And really a part of that comes with a mindset change. Instead of always thinking that we have to ask for forgiveness if we can't be a part of something, if we can't answer that very moment, it's being willing to sit with our skill set and say, hey, wait a second, I'll get it to you in just a moment. I'll get it to you tomorrow. Here's my schedule. My calendar is blocked off for XXXX. So I think really if we all sit with like the idea that you as a human being can establish boundaries and really assert your skill set, you won't have to worry about all of those other things. And I wish I learned that earlier. I think I dealt with a lot of headache the first few years of my career, because I always was asking people for their opinions. And secondly, if I couldn't do something right then and there, I thought there was going to be an issue. I would lose my job no matter what. And that's a part of the culture that is created in certain work environments. But additionally, it's self-inflicted. I think if we assert ourselves and we say, hey, we can't do this, but we can do this, and also let people know that you belong to be wherever you are, is what sets you apart. And so all that to say, I think everyone's still a work in progress in this area, especially as Black women. I think we always still fight. There's still a difference in pay grade. There's still a difference in, if you look at certain corporations, how many Black women do you see? Not just sitting on a board, but also sitting in the executive chairs. I think that also is something that kind of makes us a little disappointed, makes us feel like we have to do a lot more. I would encourage everyone, and this is me speaking to myself as well, to continue to assert yourself. And if there is a room you feel like you are not being welcomed in, to create your own room. I think we kind of steer away from that as well. There are opportunities for us to steer into our passions and create our own tables where people can come sit and help us, really nurture any passions or ideas that we have.
I love that. Lord, you said so many bumper sticker titles that I can put on bumper stickers there, Brianca. I love everything that you said. And I also reflected back on my own career when I was a young professional. how I moved from one culture to another and how I learned a lesson. And a lesson actually came from a female leader who happened to be the CEO. And I'll tell the story briefly. So when I worked as a leader in home improvement, the culture was you come to work no matter what. You can be half dead. They didn't care. Don't call in, come to work. And sometimes I would be so sick that I would sit in my office and literally could not do anything, was not productive at all, but they were happy that I was in the building for some reason. So when I left that job and I went to work in leadership and nonprofit, I had the same mentality, come to work sick no matter what. And my office was right beside the CEO. As I was on the leadership floor, I was the senior leader in HR. And so I had to walk past my boss's office to my office. And so she would overhear me coughing and just whatever I was experiencing during that time, whatever ailment that was going on. And she, very early when I started working there, she would walk past my doorway about 2 or 3 times. When she would hear me coughing, and then she would ease in and stand in the doorway and she would say, "Are you sick?" And I would say, "Yeah, but I'm here." And she said, the first time she said, "Well, thank you for being here, but I'm going to need you to go home." And I'm like, it took all of my energy to come here. She said, "I understand that, and I appreciate your dedication, but I'd rather have you home taking care of yourself than to have you here sick and have the whole floor sick.
Yes.
Do not come to work sick." And it still took me probably about 8 or 9, my first year, I say 8 or 9 months to change my mindset not to go to work sick.
Right.
The change in environment, and what she said made perfect sense. Why come spread your germs? But the previous culture with the previous employer, they didn't care. They wanted you there in the building, whether you were productive or not. And so it was, another female senior leader who was a wise woman who said, "Nope, you got to go home." And so I eventually learned, just call in, because I used to pride myself on, I never used my sick days. I never used my vacation days. Because I didn't, because I was coming to work sick and probably infecting the rest of the world, And so when you were talking about environment, it is critical. Environment is critical. And then those in our environment to tell us what is the best way.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily to identify that you're doing it wrong, because she said, "I appreciate your dedication and everything. I know it took you a long time to get ready to come in here, but you got to go home."
I love that she did that. And I feel like for everyone, something to note, it's exactly what you're saying. As you're growing through your career, or if you're already established in your career, be that person who's taking that, similar to you, similar to myself, saying, "Hey, someone sat down and told me you're sick, you need to go home." Also be that person. And that's something I've mimicked. I'm like, wait a minute, like if any one of my staff or any of my colleagues, I'm like, no, we're not creating this type of work environment.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up, since you are a member of a Greek organization, I want you to tell us about your sorority, the history of your sorority, where it was founded, and why you decided to join the sisterhood of your sorority, because we have a lot of members and sister leaders that are members of the Divine Nine. And so I want you to highlight your sorority as well. Tell us whatever you want to tell us about your sorority.
Yes, I'd be happy to. So again, I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. My mentor growing up was a member of Zeta, and I didn't know what any Greek thing meant. I just knew who she was as a person. And so I was watching her. I'm like, she's doing so much in the community. She's doing all of these things. I love this. Like, I think this is great. And, as like a middle school, elementary school student, we're trying to figure out our lives, and in high school trying to figure out what are we going to do next. But I watched her, and I watched how involved her sisterhood was. And so when I got to school, I knew that there was a possibility that I wanted to be an organization, but I had to figure out what that meant. And at that time, my father was very, very sick. So my freshman year, actually, I wasn't able to pledge anything, and pledge is a term for undergrad. I wasn't able to be a part of anything because the program I was in, pre-med, you couldn't do anything your first year. And the second year, my father got very, very ill. And so I had to go back home while still in school and help my mother and really help her take care of my dad. She became his primary caregiver. And so it was really difficult for me to figure out what that meant. And so I knew that I would have to delay my dreams of joining anything. Fast forward, I had my daughter. I ended up marrying my husband, who was a member of Sigma, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. I met some of his sorors, and I met some of his friends, and I loved them. And I was like, this is exactly what I want to be a part of. And once I realized I was able to establish my career and really make space for the things that I wanted to do outside of work, I was able to do just that. I'm a part of Omicron Theta Zeta in Virginia. And just so everyone's aware, Zeta was founded on Howard University campus, and we are women of finer women. We are a part of finer womanhood. We really focus on giving back to our communities, having a sisterhood, scholarship, and service. And so, a part of why I love my organization, not to drag it out because I could talk forever about Zeta, is because we really not only make a mark in the community, but we also really include our kids. My daughter is a Pearlette, so we have youth auxiliaries, and my daughter at 7 years old has her own, community service hours. There's also leadership opportunities in the youth auxiliaries, so teaching them at a very young age how to establish yourself in these leadership positions. And so all that to say, I really encourage anyone to go out, be and look for anything that is similar to what is important to you. And if there is any room for you to come and be a part of such an amazing organization, I really truly encourage everyone to follow that path. But again, it's about service. It's about giving back and creating that village, which I think our organization has been able to do.
I love that. And so as we close out the interview, if you could share with the Sister Leaders community anything that you want to share with them, if you want to help them get them to support you or stay connected with you on social media, support a nonprofit, whatever it is, whatever your heart's desire, share with them how they can stay in contact with you if you want that. Just share with them whatever information if they were interested in more Brianca Hurley.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. You can find me on all social media platforms, Brianca Hurley, and that's Brianca with a C. I am, again, a part of the Juneteenth Foundation. So if anyone is interested in learning more about Juneteenth, if anyone is interested in volunteer opportunities or just being a part of our events, I'm very active. I deal with the operations the day-to-day, so I'm happy to have those conversations. If anyone wants to be a part of learning about operations, just having another person to talk to in career and development, I'm happy to discuss that as well. And if anyone wants to talk about having all of these kids and still managing day-to-day, happy to discuss that too. I'm very grateful for this platform. Dr. Pruden, you are doing an amazing job with highlighting women, but also like really giving back. This is a part of giving back. So I'm grateful for you. And I know that everything you're doing is going to continue to inspire so many women and men. So again, thank you. You can reach me on all platforms. So I'm here and I'm available.
Thank you. And I am Dr. Karen Hills Pruden, in case you kind of jumped in the middle of the interview. And I am the CEO and founder of the Sister Leaders Community, Academy, and Conference. And I'll tell you a little bit about Sister Leaders. Sister Leaders is a community of men and women who support more women in senior leadership. And the reason why we're a community of men and women is because it's the boys club upstairs, mostly, even in predominantly women industries. When you get to the highest position in the company, most of those positions are held by men. So we need men to speak our names in those rooms that we have no access in yet. I'll say yet. We need them to be our ambassadors. We need them to be our sponsors to get us into the room so that we can show the knowledge that we have. And so Sister Leaders is a community of men and women who are committed to increasing the number of women in senior leadership. My academy works on fine-tuning the skills of middle managers who are interested in senior leadership, and we help them articulate their successes in terms of data speak. You gotta know your numbers, women. You gotta be, have a romance with data. You got to be able to articulate your successes when you get in senior leadership. I am in the C-suite. I have been in the C-suite for the last 15 years, and it was out of my pain point of not being able to find a mentor, a woman in the C-suite who could tell me what I needed to focus on when I was in middle management. So once I got there, I created this community, and some facets of this community are free. Other parts of this community, you have to pay for services, because I do high level confidential coaching as well. But we are about increasing the number of women in senior leadership through working with them on leading people, leading change using technology and analytics. And I help and assist you on how to articulate your successes through the employment recruitment process. So some people call me the C-suite strategist, others call me the C-suite guru. They call me all kinds of stuff, but really I'm just all about girl power. And so my free community is on Facebook. It's Sister Leaders Community. And so you're welcome to join the academy. You as well as you can have access to that. And then we do an annual conference that's coming up this year on October 27th and 28th. It is virtual, and it's international. And so you can go up to Sister Leaders with an S conference.com and see all of the wonderful speakers that have graced our platform. Dr. Cheryl Wood, Dr. Sandra Stribling, Dr. Delatoro McNeil, Dr. Will Moreland. We've had some A-list speakers who've come through on Sister Leaders. And so make sure you stay attached to me so you'll know who's coming through on this year. And look, I'm all for girl power. I'm all for not only acquisition of senior leadership, but sustainability. I want women to be able to sustain their business for longer than 5 years, because data shows that 50% of businesses close down before year 5. I want women who finally make it to the C-suite to stay there until they are ready to leave. And so acquisition and sustainability is the core mission of Sister Leaders. And so you can just punch in Sister Leaders or punch in my name. We're Google worthy, and all things Sister Leaders will come up. And so I thank you, Brianca, and I encourage everyone to stay tuned for the next interview. Bye.